The war did not begin with an attack. It began with a meeting. Inside the massive Galactic Council chamber, hundreds of alien leaders gathered around a glowing ring of light. The room floated in space, far above any planet. This was where laws were made, where wars were approved, and where entire species were judged. Humanity was not present. A single hologram of Earth rotated slowly in the center of the chamber. Blue oceans, green land, a peaceful world. To many in the council, it looked dangerous. Some council members believed humans were too fast, too creative, too unpredictable. They had spread from one planet to dozens in only a few centuries. Their technology improved quickly. Their fleets grew larger every year. Fear whispered louder than facts. One council leader spoke first. His voice echoed across the chamber. He claimed that humans would one day attack the galaxy. He offered no proof, only warnings and old fears. Others agreed. A vote was called. The decision was made in minutes. A preventive strike was approved, and with that, the war that should never have started was born. The first attacks came without warning. Human colonies at the edge of explored space were hit suddenly. Orbital stations were destroyed before alarms could sound. Cities vanished in fire. Communication arrays were shattered. Millions died in the first hours. On Earth, leaders watched the news in shock. Screens filled with burning worlds and broken ships. No message had been sent. No explanation was given. Humanity asked one question again and again. Why? They sent diplomats. They sent emergency signals. They tried to contact the Galactic Council. No one answered. The Council had already decided. Humans were the enemy. More attacks followed. Alien fleets struck supply lines and shipyards. Civilian transports were destroyed. Research stations were erased. Each strike was clean, fast, and cold. The Council called it necessary. Humans called it massacre. Still, humanity did not strike back. They evacuated colonies. They rescued survivors. They focused on defense. Their leaders hoped the Council would stop once they saw the damage they had caused. But the Council did not stop. They mistook silence for weakness. Months passed. Human losses grew heavier. Entire colonies went dark, never responding again. Memorial lists grew longer every day. Children grew up without parents. World became graveyards. Across human space, anger grew, but it was quiet anger. Humanity watched. Humanity learned. They studied alien ships. They recorded every battle. They analyzed weapons tactics and command structures. They waited. Inside the Galactic Council, confidence ruled. Reports showed human fleets retreating, human space shrinking. Council leaders congratulated themselves. They believed they had acted in time. Some members suggested peace talks. They were ignored. Humans will accept their place. One leader said, "They always do." That sentence would later haunt the galaxy. Then came the moment everything changed. A council fleet entered what they believed was an abandoned human system. No ships, no stations, just silence, too quiet. Human ships appeared without warning. Not a full fleet, just a few vessels. But they moved differently, faster, smarter, deadlier. The council fleet was destroyed in minutes. No survivors, no message. The galaxy noticed. After that, human attacks became rare, but precise. A single ship destroyed a supply hub. A small group of fighters wiped out a patrol fleet. Communication relays failed across entire sectors. The Council still believed they were winning. They were wrong. Humans were not fighting a war. They were preparing for one. On Earth, leaders gathered in quiet rooms. There were no speeches, no cheers, only hard choices. Humanity understood something the Council did not. This war was never about territory. It was about survival, and survival meant change. The Galactic Council finally realized their mistake when reports arrived faster than explanations. Fleets missing, bases gone, allies refusing to fight. Fear replaced confidence. Emergency meetings were called. Discussions grew tense. Some demanded total destruction of humanity. Others warned it was already too late. For the first time, the Council asked a question they should have asked at the beginning. What if humans were never the threat? What if the real danger was what they had forced humans to become? Far from the council chamber, deep in human-controlled space, massive shipyards came online. Fleets waited in silence. Soldiers trained without songs or flags. No one spoke of revenge, but everyone felt it. The war that should never have started had crossed a point of no return, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming next. After the first human counterattack, the galaxy waited for a response. None came. Weeks passed, then months. No grand invasion. No loud threats. No speeches sent across the stars. Human space went quiet again, almost too quiet. The Galactic Council believed this was fear. They believed humanity had shown its strength once and now wished to hide. They were wrong. Inside human territory, everything changed. Shipyards that once built trade vessels were sealed and rebuilt in secret. Civilian factories shifted to military production overnight. Old stations were moved, hidden deep inside asteroid fields and nebula clouds where sensors failed. Nothing was announced. Humanity did not need to announce preparation. Every human already understood. The war was real now. Human scientists worked without rest. They studied alien weapons recovered from destroyed fleets. They learned how Council Shield worked, how their engines failed under stress, and how their command systems depended on central control. Humans found weaknesses, many weaknesses. They learned that Council fleets followed strict rules. Orders moved slowly. Decisions required approval. Fleets waited for permission even while dying. Humans smiled at that discovery. Human commanders changed how they fought. They broke fleets into small, fast groups. Ships were modified for speed and stealth. Weapons were redesigned for precision, not power. The goal was not destruction. The goal was control. Across the galaxy, Council patrols continued their missions. But something felt wrong. Scouts reported empty systems where human colonies once existed. Too empty. No wreckage. No survivors. No signals. Just silence. Some alien captains requested permission to retreat. Permission was denied. In deep space, human training fleets moved constantly. Crews drilled without pause. Mistakes were corrected immediately. Weak ideas were removed. There was no room for pride, only survival. Human soldiers were told the truth. They were shown images of destroyed colonies. They were shown names of the dead, not to create anger, but focus. Humanity did not fight for revenge yet. They fought to make sure no one could ever hurt them like this again. The Galactic Council received fewer reports from the front lines. Supply convoys went missing. Communication relays failed. Entire sectors stopped responding. The Council blamed equipment failure. Then they blamed sabotage. Then they blamed each other. A small Council fleet entered a human border system, expecting resistance. They found nothing. No ships. No stations. No life. They relaxed. That was their last mistake. Human vessels emerged from hidden positions. Not dozens. Just enough. The attack was silent. Clean. Fast. The Council fleet never fired a shot. The system went dark. Fear began to spread. Council members argued during meetings. Some demanded peace talks. Others demanded full destruction of humanity before it was too late. Votes failed. Indecision grew. Humans noticed. Human intelligence units mapped the political structure to the Council. They learned who commanded fleets, who approved attacks, and who profited from war. Names were collected. Worlds were marked. Humans understood something important. Wars were not won on battlefields alone. Inside one hidden command center, a human strategist looked at a glowing map of the galaxy. Red markers showed Council power centers. Blue markers showed human fleets. The map shifted constantly. The strategist spoke quietly. "We don't need to beat them everywhere," he said. "We only need to make them afraid everywhere." The plan moved forward. Council fleets began to encounter strange problems. Navigation systems failed near human space. Sensors showed false readings. Fleets chased enemies that were never there. Fuel ran out faster than expected. Morale collapsed. Aliens began to fear human space the way humans once feared the Council. Still, humanity remained silent. No messages. No demands. No threats. That silence was worse than any weapon. On Earth, civilian life continued, but changed. Children learned emergency drills. Cities built underground shelters. Families watched the stars with worry. Yet something else grew alongside fear. Resolve. Humans understood that peace had been taken from them. If peace ever returned, it would be on their terms. The Galactic Council finally realized the truth during a classified briefing. Human military strength had not decreased. It had multiplied. Human fleets were larger, faster, and smarter than before the war. Their movements were unpredictable. Their attacks impossible to trace. One council analyst said the words no one wanted to hear. Humans are not reacting anymore, he said. They are planning. Emergency signals were sent across the galaxy. Council members demanded immediate talks. Some called for surrender. Others called for total war. The galaxy stood on the edge of collapse. And still, humanity said nothing. Far from council space, human fleets aligned in the dark. Engines hummed softly. Weapons powered up. Commanders gave final instructions. No speeches. No cheers. Only one order echoed through human space. Begin Phase 1. The war had entered a new stage, and the galaxy was about to learn what humanity had been preparing for all along. The first human response did not begin with an announcement. It began with darkness. Across several council-controlled systems, stars vanished from sensors. Communication lines failed at the same moment. Fleets tried to report in, but no signal escaped. For the first time, the galaxy felt truly blind. In one border system, a council defense fleet waited near a major trade route. Their orders were simple: watch for human movement and report it. They never saw the humans coming. Human ships did not jump in from open space. They emerged from behind moons, asteroids, and sensor shadows. Their engines were quiet. Their hulls absorbed light. The Council fleet had less than 10 seconds to react. That was not enough. Human weapons struck with precision. Command ships were destroyed first, then sensor vessels, then power cores. The human fleet did not chase fleeing ships. They disabled engines and left them drifting. No survivors were harmed. No planets were touched. When it was over, the system was silent again. Across the galaxy, similar attacks unfolded. Always fast, always controlled, always clean. Council fleets vanished or returned broken and confused. Defense stations powered down without firing. Entire sectors lost military protection overnight. Humanity was not conquering space. They were removing control. The Galactic Council called this chaos. Humans called it Phase 1. Inside the council chamber, panic spread. Screens showed damaged fleets and dark systems. Reports contradicted each other. Some commanders claimed humans were everywhere. Others claimed they were nowhere. Fear grew stronger than reason. Emergency orders were issued, then canceled, then rewritten. Fleets were moved without clear purpose. Supply lines collapsed under confusion. The Council had never faced an enemy like this. Human commanders watched calmly. They expected this. Human strategy did not rely on strength alone. It relied on pressure, confusion, fear. A single human attack forced 10 Council fleets to move. A single silent system caused panic across entire regions. The galaxy began to feel human presence even where no human ships existed. On one Council world, civilians watched the sky change color as emergency shields activated. Sirens echoed through cities. News channels reported possible human invasion. Nothing happened. Hours passed. Then days. The fear remained. Humans understood something simple. Fear lasts longer than explosions. Council intelligence teams worked without rest. They tried to predict human movements. They searched for patterns. They found none. Human attacks did not follow supply routes. They did not target borders alone. They struck deep, then vanished. One analyst finally said what others feared. They are choosing targets, she said, not reacting. Choosing. That word spread to the Council like poison. In human space, the mood was quiet but heavy. Soldiers watched recorded battles without celebration. Families followed news updates with mixed feelings. Relief and fear lived side by side. Human leaders reminded everyone of one rule: no civilian targets, no unnecessary deaths. This war was not about becoming monsters. It was about stopping them. Then came the message that changed everything. A council fleet, larger than any before, gathered near a human-controlled system. Thousands of ships, heavy weapons, total destruction planned. The council wanted a clear victory. They wanted to show strength. They wanted to end fear. Human Command received the report and did not hesitate. Phase 2 was still weeks away, but plans could change. The human fleet did not meet the council force head-on. Instead, they waited. They watched as the massive alien fleet entered the system, spreading out, confident and loud. That confidence became their weakness. Human ships struck from multiple angles at once. Not to destroy, to trap. Jump points were blocked. Engines failed. Command signals jammed. The council fleet found itself surrounded by darkness and silence. Then a single human message reached every alien ship. It was short. This is your warning. The council fleet froze. They expected demands. They expected surrender terms. Instead, the human ships withdrew. Just enough. The council fleet escaped, but damaged, shaken, and humiliated. The galaxy reacted instantly. News spread across stars. Humans had faced the council's greatest force and let it go. Fear turned into terror. If humans could destroy them and chose not to, what were they waiting for? Inside the council chamber, arguments turned into shouting. Some members demanded peace immediately. Others demanded total war. Old alliances cracked. Some species threatened to leave the council entirely. Unity collapsed. Humans watched. For the first time, the council requested a meeting with humanity. Not an order, a request. Human leadership delayed the response. Not out of hesitation, out of strategy. Human fleets continued their attacks. Not bigger, smarter. Political worlds lost protection. Military leaders lost contact. War supporters lost power. The council was bleeding from the inside. A human officer stood before a star map, watching red symbols fade one by one. "We're not winning yet," she said quietly. "But they're learning." Another officer nodded. "And once they understand," he replied, "they'll beg." Far across the galaxy, the council finally understood the truth. Humans were no longer defending themselves. They were shaping the war. And the first human response was only the beginning. The Galactic Council had never begged before. For thousands of years, they had decided the fate of entire species with votes and speeches. They commanded fleets. They started wars. They ended civilizations. But now they were afraid. Inside the great council chamber, the glowing seats were no longer full. Some species had withdrawn their leaders. Others had lost them during the war. Empty spaces circled the room like silent warnings. The chamber felt colder than before. Holographic screens floated in the air, showing reports of collapsed sectors, missing fleets, and broken command lines. Each image told the same story. The council was losing control. Council members argued openly. One leader shouted that humans must be destroyed at any cost. Another demanded immediate peace. A third blamed the entire war on false reports and fear. No one listened. Fear drowned out reason. Then a message arrived. It was not an attack alert. It was worse. Human fleets had stopped advancing. They were holding positions across dozens of systems. Not attacking, not retreating, just waiting. The silence pressed against the council, like a weight. An emergency vote was called. The decision was not easy, but it was clear. The Galactic Council would request peace. For the first time in history, a human was invited to speak before the council, not as a suspect, not as a criminal, but as an equal. The day of the meeting arrived. The council chamber filled slowly. Leaders sat stiffly in their seats. Guards stood ready, though everyone knew they were useless now. At the center of the chamber, a single platform lit up. A human appeared. He wore a simple uniform. No weapons. No decorations. His face was calm, but his eyes carried something heavy. Memory. The council leader spoke first. He welcomed the human envoy. He spoke of misunderstandings, of fear, of mistakes. He said the war had gone too far. He asked for peace. The human listened without moving. When the council leader finished, Silence filled the chamber. The human did not answer right away. Instead, he raised his hand. The lights dimmed. Images filled the air. Burning human cities. Broken space stations. Evacuation ships exploding. Children crying. Planets reduced to ash. The council watched in silence. The human spoke softly. "These are our mistakes," he said. "These are your decisions." The council leader tried to speak, but the human continued. "We asked why," he said. "We asked for talks. You sent fleets." The images changed. Human counterattacks. Disabled alien fleets. Silent systems. Strategic strikes. "This," the human said, "was our answer." The council chamber was silent again. No one argued. No one interrupted. Finally, another council member spoke. They offered reparations. Technology. Territory. Anything. They promised peace. They begged for it. The human envoy looked around the chamber. He saw fear. Not regret. Fear. Peace, the human said slowly, is not something you can ask for after everything burns. The words echoed. The council leader fell back into his seat. The truth was clear. Humanity was not here to negotiate. They were here to judge. Still, the council tried again. They offered to dismantle military fleets, to punish war leaders, to sign permanent treaties. They promised the galaxy would never fear humanity again. The human envoy shook his head. "You are not afraid of us," he said. "You are afraid of losing power." That sentence broke something inside the chamber. Arguments erupted. Leaders shouted. Some accused the human of cruelty. Others demanded surrender. The council was no longer united. It was desperate. The human waited until silence returned. Then he delivered humanity's answer. "We will not destroy the galaxy," he said. "We will not hunt civilians. We will not become what you feared." Some council members looked relieved. Too soon. But the human continued, "We will make sure this never happens again." He explained the terms. The Galactic Council will be dissolved, its fleets disarmed, its authority ended. Each member species would govern itself. War leaders would face human judgment, not execution, exposure. The council reacted in shock. Dissolve the council? That was unthinkable. The council was a galaxy. "This is not peace," one leader shouted. "This is punishment." The human nodded. "Yes," he said simply. The council leader stood slowly. If the council refused, humanity would continue the war. If they accepted, their power was gone. Either way, the old galaxy was ending. The council asked for time. The human agreed. 24 hours. No more. As the human envoy vanished, the chamber exploded into chaos. Some leaders demanded resistance. Others called their home worlds in panic. Alliances shattered. Old enemies blamed each other. The council had never been weaker. Across human space, fleets remained ready. Commanders waited, not with anger, with certainty. On Earth, news of the meeting spread. Humans did not celebrate. They remembered. Far above the stars, the Galactic Council faced a truth they could no longer escape. Peace was no longer theirs to give. It was humanity's to allow. And the galaxy held its breath, knowing the next decision would change everything forever. The 24 hours passed slowly. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, no one slept. Messages flew between home worlds and military leaders. Some species argued for surrender. Others demanded resistance. A few tried to secretly move their fleets away, hoping to escape what was coming. They all failed. Human ships were already watching. When the final hour ended, the council gathered again. The chamber felt smaller now. The lights were dimmer. The air was heavy with fear. The human envoy returned. He stood alone at the center platform, calm and silent. The council leader rose. "The council has decided," he said, his voice weak. "We reject your terms." The words echoed through the chamber like a death sentence. The human envoy nodded once. "I understand," he said. That was all. No anger. No threats. The hologram vanished. Across the galaxy, human fleets moved. Not all at once. Not loudly. Just enough. The first targets were not planets. They were people. war planners, fleet commanders, council officials who had pushed for the preventive strike. Human intelligence units released evidence across the galaxy. Records, orders, votes, lies. The truth spread faster than any fleet. Council leaders who once had behind titles now faced their own citizens. Some were arrested, some fled, some disappeared. Humanity called it accountability. Then came the dismantling. Council military hubs lost power. Shipyards shut down. Fleet command networks collapsed. Human ships did not fire unless necessary. They boarded stations, seized control, and locked systems down. Alien soldiers were allowed to leave. Weapons were taken. Power was removed. Across multiple worlds, council flags were lowered, not by force, by fear. Some council fleets tried to fight back. They lasted minutes. Human tactics were too advanced, too adaptive. Alien ships were disabled, not destroyed. Crews were spared. The message was clear. Resistance was pointless. Inside human command centers, officers watched the galaxy change in real time. One commander asked a question many feared. "Is this revenge?" she said quietly. Another answered just as calmly. "No," he said. "This is prevention." Humanity made its choice clear. They would not burn worlds. They would not wipe out species. They would remove the system that allowed such a war to happen. Forever. The Galactic Council collapsed piece by piece. Member species withdrew. Votes meant nothing. Orders were ignored. The once powerful council chamber became empty and silent. The galaxy watched the fall of an empire without a single planet being destroyed. That frightened them more than any genocide ever could. Some alien leaders tried to plead again. They sent private messages to Earth. Promises, apologies, offers of loyalty. Humanity ignored most of them. One message was answered. A human broadcast reached every major system. Not a threat, not a boast, a warning. "You feared us because we survived Earth," the human speaker said. "You attacked us because you thought we would become monsters." The image shifted to destroyed colonies. "You were wrong about one thing," the voice continued. "We do not become monsters easily." The image shifted again to human fleets standing down, alien civilians being protected, relief ships moving freely. "But," the voice said, "if you force us to choose, we will finish what you start." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, silence followed. Then acceptance. Human fleets began withdrawing from occupied systems. Control was returned to local governments. Trade routes reopened under human protection. Humans did not claim territory. They claimed something else. Respect. On worlds once ruled by council authority, citizens felt something new. Freedom. No council fleets. No forced votes. No silent threats. Some species celebrated. Others were terrified of what might come next. The war officially ended when the last council command station powered down. No ceremony. No treaty. Just silence. Back on Earth, leaders gathered again. This time, there was no tension. Humanity had survived, but something had changed. Human society debated the war openly. Some said the response was too harsh. Others said it was not harsh enough. One truth united them. Humanity would never allow this to happen again. Far from Earth, the remains of the Galactic Council drifted in space. Empty chambers. Broken authority. The galaxy had lost its rulers and gained something far more dangerous. A lesson. Other species began to rewrite their laws. No more preventive wars. No more secret votes. No more fear-based decisions. They remembered how quickly humans had learned, how patiently they had waited, how carefully they had chosen revenge. A human historian later described the war in one sentence. "Humanity did not conquer the galaxy," she said. "They taught it." As human fleets returned home, commanders gave final orders. Stand down. Remain alert. Remember, the galaxy was quieter now, but it would never be the same, because every species understood one simple truth. If humans ever asked for peace and were ignored again, there would be no second chance. The galaxy did not celebrate the end of the war. There were no victory parades, no loud announcements. No song sung across the stars. Instead, there was silence, a deep, thoughtful silence that followed the fall of the Galactic Council. Without the Council, many species felt lost. For thousands of years, the Council had decided laws, borders, and wars. Even those who hated it had relied on its power. Now it was gone, and humanity was still there, watching. In the months that followed, human fleets did something no one expected. They helped. Human relief ships delivered food to war-damaged worlds. Engineers repaired space stations once used to attack human colonies. Medical teams treated alien civilians without asking what side they had supported. No flags were raised. No loyalty was demanded. This confused the galaxy more than the war ever had. Alien leaders watched carefully. They expected humans to rule. They expected occupation. They expected revenge to continue. It did not. Humanity returned control of systems to local governments. They protected trade routes, but did not tax them. They shared technology meant for defense, not domination. Slowly, fear turned into something unfamiliar. Trust. A new interstellar gathering formed. Not a council, a forum. Each species had a voice. No fleet backed their words. No threats waited behind votes. Humans attended, but never led. That choice mattered. Historians across the galaxy struggled to explain humanity. They studied Earth's past, its wars, its mistakes, its recoveries. They found a pattern. Humans learned from pain, and they remembered it. On Earth, memorials were built, not to celebrate victory, but to remember loss. Names of destroyed colonies were carved into stone. Children were taught what had happened and why, not to create hatred, to create awareness. A human teacher once asked her students a simple question: why did we destroy them when we could? A child answered softly, because then we would be afraid of ourselves. The teacher nodded. Years passed. The galaxy stabilized. New alliances formed, smaller and cautious. Wars became rare. Words were chosen more carefully. Every species remembered how fast peace had disappeared once, and how fast humans had adapted. Humanity slowly reduced its military presence. Fleets returned home. Shipyards shifted back to civilian production, but not completely. Human defenses remained strong, quiet, ready, far from Earth. On a rebuilt alien world once damaged in the early days of the war, an old council leader watched human ships depart. He felt something close to regret, not for losing power, but for underestimating a species that only wanted to be left alone. A single sentence became common across the stars. It was spoken in trade halls, academies, and government chambers. Do not force humans to choose. Everyone knew what it meant. One final meeting took place years later. Not in a grand chamber, not with hundreds of leaders, just a small room floating between stars. A human diplomat met with several alien representatives. They thanked humanity for restraint. They asked a question many had wondered for years. Why didn't you rule us? The human diplomat answered simply, because fear builds empires, he said, and empires always fall. The galaxy remembered the old council, its arrogance, its fear, its mistake, and it remembered humanity, their patience, their response, their lesson. The war entered history as a turning point, not because of how many died, but because of what changed. Humanity proved something the galaxy had never believed, that strength did not require cruelty, that revenge did not require genocide, that power could exist without domination. But the warning remained, written not in law, but in memory. Humanity had shown mercy once. They would not be forced to show it again. On Earth, a human commander stood beneath a night sky full of stars. Each one represented a world that now watched humanity carefully, not with fear, with respect. The commander spoke quietly, knowing no one could hear. We never wanted this, she said. The stars did not answer. They did not need to, because the galaxy had learned its lesson, and it would never forget it.